And good afternoon, or maybe when you're listening or watching this is the morning or the night. It doesn't matter, but hello, everybody. This is Chris Burlow. I am here with one of my favorite people on earth, Angela Vehu, and we are here to share with you on the Slight Shift Show, because we do believe the slightest shifts could make profound differences, improvements, growth in your life and in the life of those you care about over time. It doesn't need to be this dramatic, huge breakthrough. It's just the small, the idea of, we talk about Ilil Shin a lot. Ilil Shin is to be better every day, renew ourselves. It doesn't need to be drastic, but just be a little bit better today than we were yesterday, and a little bit better tomorrow than we are today. If we do that, we're going to be amazing. Isn't that right, Coach Angela?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So we always, sometimes I know we should record the pre-recordings.
And one of these days we're just going to do it. We're literally just we're going to hop in, we're going to hit record, and we're just going to ride the roller coaster and see what happens. And we're going to hope that Grandmaster Chris has a slight slip in his shift, and we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Oh my goodness, yes. There's definitely. I remember last podcast, if you listened to, that was fun.
Yes.
That was fun to see what it was, to see who did the stupidest stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would definitely.
But you want to know what? It was a lot of people laughed, and it was very thought provoking for a lot of people, because they had. And it was interesting what came out of that is a lot of people had similar stories to us.
I know. And
that's validated in that moment.
What do they say that? I don't want to say misery. Maybe stupidity loves company. Right. So
yes.
Who knows? But that was a lot of fun. But today is going to be a little bit more of a serious, serious conversation. Something.
Well, there's nothing serious when I'm here. So just kidding.
Well, serious but fun. We could be serious, serious.
Seriously fun.
Seriously fun. That's right. But you had some people bring some things up to you in your world, and it kind of got your mind turning, and then it turned into where my mind was turning, and happened to be in the same direction. So what's on your mind and your heart today?
Yeah. So over this past week, I don't know what it is, but I've had so many people mentioning seasonal depression to me. And, oh man, I suffer from seasonal depression, and, how do I get myself out of it? And this whole concept of seasonal depression, and, where does it come from? And what are little slight shifts that we can do to help, combat the seasonal depression? And it kind of comes down to our mindset in a way. And I'm just thinking of this. I have no idea of the name of the book, but the gentleman that survived the Holocaust, who wrote a book.
I know it. I read it. It was, there we go.
It's going to come to you. So anyway, but in the book, it was his mindset. It was what he was telling himself that got him through that experience. And so what are the things that we're telling ourselves? So when it comes to, the seasonal depression and things like that, like what are the seeds that we're planting? What are the words that we're telling ourselves? What's going on, in between our ears on a daily basis? And what are little things that we can do, and little mantras and things that we can remind ourselves and whatnot, to kind of get us through that period, which actually kind of leads us into, which we skipped over. We went straight to rule number 2, but it leads us into actually rule number 1 of Ilil Shin, in a really nice way. And so we're going to talk about mindset and, the things that we are telling ourselves, and how do we get through this seasonal depression time frame. And so Chris asked me before we jumped on, why do you think that is? And my response was, I feel like people just we don't look up and out and appreciate the world, there's so many beautiful things that happen every single day that we quite literally don't see. So funny story. is like, you know how, like, have you ever heard the expression like tunnel vision?
Of course.
You know, like tunnel vision.
Happen often,
And so,
yes.
so I was vacuuming, and I don't know, he might kill me for sharing this story, but I was literally like, Matt was standing in the kitchen and I'm vacuuming, and I hit his foot because he was in where I needed to vacuum. And the vacuum's like loud, right? Hit his foot, nothing. Hit his foot, nothing. I think I hit his foot like 4 or 5 times, and like it was like he had like no clue that I was there. So now I'm laughing. So, and here's the other thing: you can have a shift, right? You can either get like angry, or you'd be like, I thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh my god! And so I like tapped him, and I was like, oh my gosh, like to have that level of focus. I was like jealous. I was like, how do I get like that level of like intense focus so that like he had no clue that I was there, you know? And it was unbelievable. And so we get so, you know, focused that we don't see what's going on in the world around us. So from a seasonal depression standpoint, you know, like, yeah, the sky is gray, or the sun doesn't shine as much, but what beauty can we find within those moments? And, you know, how about just the stillness in the cool air? And, you know, how does it feel in our lungs? And, you know, when you breathe in that fresh, clean air and all of that, you know, we don't focus on things like that.
I agree. I agree. And well, I want to just backpedal just 1 minute. It's Viktor Frankl and A Man's Search for Meaning. So
okay, there we go. Thank you.
That was a good win. And then
I knew you would get it.
Yeah, I know, because it was right at the tip of my brain. So, and then, you know, rule number 1, right? Little Shin, is keep the rules when we have no rules. And basically, it's us having the ability to take control of the narrative that we choose, right? And we choose what to see. You know, I've been doing a lot of the clients that I'm working with in Empowered Mastery at this point are on the attitude chapter. And if you remember the attitude chapter, right? And attitude is not, it's what you're thinking, it's what you're feeling, and then the actions all in one, not just one. And you know, it's we would say, like, you have a choice, right? In that chapter, we talk about you have a choice. You can wake up and you could choose to be in a good mood, and you could choose to be in a bad mood. It's 100% your choice. It's raining outside. You can choose to say, oh, this is horrible. Oh, it's going to be a horrible day. It's going to rain all day. Or you could choose like, wow, this is awesome, because now the flowers are going to be so beautiful.
Yep.
Right. You know, and it's 100%. Just a matter of that perspective. And I think for you and for me, I think it's very easy. And I think for a lot of people, it may not be so easy.
It doesn't come as natural.
Right.
But I would challenge our listeners, and you know this better, Chris, but what's the thing where, like, you know, like you buy a new car and you get a Volkswagen, and then all of a sudden you see Volkswagens everywhere, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, like, what you're focused on is what you see and what multiplied. They were always all there. You just
never focused on it. Yeah. So that's interesting. I remember that it's reticular activating system, something like that. I don't know the exact name, so for those who know it, don't judge me, please. But that's okay.
Judge them in the comments. Just kidding.
That's right. Yeah, judge them in the comments. But I make up my own words half the time. So, but I remember this happened like in a really kind of weird and powerful way. Is when we first started raising money for blood cancer. I did it not because selfishly I was raising money or I knew anything about blood cancer. It was because I wanted to hike the Grand Canyon. They said, oh, you raise money for blood cancer and then you get to go hike the Grand Canyon. I'm like, I'm in, right? And I didn't know what it was. And then I look at my bulletin board and I had a Taekwondo student. This is how bad I was. And confession time on the podcast. But I didn't know this, but one of my students, there was a blood drive. His name was Jake. Blood drive for Jake. because he was diagnosed with leukemia. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I'm raising money for leukemia and I don't even know. So anyway, my wife gives blood and all that stuff. I haven't done it. I'm not a big fan of needles. Again, tell something else about me. I guess I figure it's more confession. But then we make the decision. I learn about it. I'm like, wow, this is something, right? I didn't know. 2 weeks later, a mom calls me up and says, oh, so-and-so, I'm Quinn's mom. I want to let you know, Quinn was just diagnosed with leukemia. He won't be in for classes. So now I got hit here. Then I got hit here. And then it was like, holy crap, this is serious. And it's everywhere. And ever since that point, that was 2012. And I could proudly say since then, we've raised about $1 million through my martial arts organization for blood cancer, fighting blood cancers. And we've lost some people. We've seen people win the battle and so on. But I never knew, I even know it existed. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like the car, right? You find the car and you think you have the only color in this car. And then you see it like, oh, there's one and there's one. Oh, they're all over the place.
Yes. Yeah.
So I agree. I guess that was a long story short story that went way too long, and I'll bring it back. But the idea of when you're seeing negative, that's all you're going to find. Yeah. And then when you see positive, that's all you're going to find. And I think one of the most powerful empowered mastery lessons is, I shouldn't say powered mastery lesson, but lesson we could learn. Oh, the most powerful slight shift show lesson we could learn is that our mind cannot have two thoughts at the same time. It's going to be one at a time. And you could make the choice for it to be a positive one.
Yep.
Or a negative one. And you can make the choice, if it's a negative one, to shift it, like my terminology, right? To shift it to the positive one. And there's the magic in the slight shift.
Yep. Well, and I just thinking, like I shared I'm my daughter's Girl Scout troop leader. And so I was sharing a story about the troop. But how much of this do you think, like these things that we tell ourselves are implanted from our upbringing too?
Yes.
Like if you grew up in an environment where I can't, or too hard, or not enough, or, and I'm not saying that they're bad or anything like that. It was just, oh, I can't do that, or that won't work, just like all these simple things. But when you hear it, that then becomes part of your language.
Your belief system,
yeah. And so like for the Girl Scout troop, we did a cute little Olympics thing during so we had like all these games for them to do, and like speed skating. And I thought it would be really cute if they built these like downhill skiers, like so they could get their engineering patch to make these downhill skiers out of tin foil and use, like popsicle sticks. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea, right? And I have 14 girls. And so what was interesting is I had all the supplies laid out and I was like, I'm going to do it with you. And I heard so many, I can't, I need help. I can't, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
Not even your realm of like, possibility.
Right. And so we had a meeting just this week on St. Patrick's Day. And I was like, okay, we're going to trap this leprechaun, this tricky leprechaun. So we're going to build leprechaun traps. And, but I got smarter this time. So again, got, my 14 girls, and we had some leprechaun rules.
Yeah.
And one of the leprechaun rules was the leprechauns don't say I can't. Because in the Winter Olympics, I was like, yes, you can. Like, why?
Yeah.
But it's just it's so easy. It's just part of the vocabulary because they hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Just everywhere. So the shift that we need to make is like, you have to be able to hear it and be able to reject it and just be like, just because the world around you is saying that I can't, or bad, or negative doesn't mean that you have to accept that.
That's right.
To your point. And so all these girls, I'm super proud of them because I was like, leprechauns don't say I can't. You know, they say I can try, you know, and you might need a little help or a little guidance. I was like, that's okay. But they don't say I can't, because we can't. And not one of them. I went from the previous meeting to 14 I can'ts,
Yeah,
going all over the place, to not one I can't. And it was awesome.
Yeah. But you also said, but the shift was I can't, and then you just added 2 letters.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
Add an RY.
That's
I can
it.
try.
I can try.
Yeah.
Lose the apostrophe. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love it.
Yeah. I can give it a go. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting to me how these negative thoughts, like, where are they coming from? Are they truly like our negative thoughts, or, you know, the seasonal depression? Like, is it something that we are doing, or is it something that we're allowing the environment or other sources or influences to like impact our thought process? Do you know what I mean?
It really depends on who's controlling the narrative, right?
Yeah.
Is the outside world controlling your narrative, or are you controlling the narrative of what you see? So somebody who is affected by seasonal depression, and I actually looked it up, and it says seasonal depression occurs most commonly during the same season cycle each year. A lot of times it's the start of winter or fall, end of spring, summer, but I think it's also any kind of transition. But it says symptoms include low energy, sadness, social withdrawal, and then this I thought was interesting, high carbohydrate cravings. So, yeah, so I guess they want to eat more snacks, which probably doesn't help with the energy, I imagine.
No.
But you know, it really comes down to who is really controlling that narrative. Are you allowing the outside voice? And that's where somebody said this to me a long time ago. The voices of the inside have to dominate the influences of the outside. And when that happens, then you know you have it right. Or he said something like that. And I take that to heart, right? You know, like, if you can have what you're telling yourself overpower what you're seeing, and that becomes the dominant force, the dominant lenses that you're looking through, I think that's powerful. And what I really, really love what you did, which just shows your awareness, is that you were so aware of the girls and they're saying, I can't. And now you're influencing them when their minds are more open to impact, right? And by mentors, and you're influence them in such a positive way to say, no, I can. I think that's hats off, for kudos to you on that one, because that's what I've tried to do my whole career, right? Beginning it was with children, now it's with adults. And you know, sometimes we're working with individuals and they're very well established and successful, and they have a really, really hard time as adults seeing positives in situations, or being able to change the narrative in their own mind. And I used to think, Angela, that if somebody was older, they were automatically mature.
Not true.
And
age is just a
true. not true. They're just older in age. But
yes.
But you know, what I do respect is anybody, though, who does want to make improvements, and they're aware of the improvements. And
I think that that's a rule,
right, that
you keep and that you don't break, right? And
that's
so
right.
And like, for myself, I'm constantly, a rule that I don't break is I check in after everything. I'm like, how could this have been better? How could it have been more efficient? What could have improved X, Y, or Z, or whatever, so that we can keep taking steps. And so after that, the Olympics Girl Scout meeting, I was like, okay, the next time we're working on building something, like, how can I make this better? Because they were all capable. Every single, I mean, we were literally just balling up tin foil. Like it was perfectly capable. It was just what they were telling themselves.
Amazing.
And as soon as we eliminated, all of a sudden, I'm actually kind of mad at myself that we didn't get a picture of like all the traps, because they all looked, they did an amazing job.
Yeah. But so your role is self-evaluation.
We did not catch the tricky leprechaun.
You didn't get it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Came close, but we did not catch the tricky leprechaun. No.
Do they have to wait?
Some gold.
Do they have to wait a whole year?
Now we have to wait a whole year to try again. Yeah.
All right. Good. Good. No participation awards with Coach Angela. And that's true. I love it. You know, one of the funny things, and ironic, I guess, is not funny, but one of the things that in our pre-conversation, again, which recorded itself, you know, we were talking about quotes, right?
Yep.
And both of the quotes, I said, well, what is your favorite quote? And I shared my favorite quote, and they were different, but the same.
But very similar. Yeah.
Very similar, right? So I will share first. And then I think you should share, and then, you know, which all aligns with everything that we've been talking about today. But my favorite quote is, and I even have it in my first martial arts school, the school, that building we built. As you walk in the entrance, it's right on the floor, or it used to be on the floor, it may be scraped up now. When you walk in, is whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Like with the Girl Scout crew, you were thinking you can't, you're right. Whether you think you can, you're right. It's 100% up to you. And that was by Henry Ford, which, for those who, if you don't know, I'm sure you recognize the name, but Henry Ford had the dream and the vision to create an automatic mobile, which was called the automobile. And he was the innovator. And he said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. That's up to you. So that is something that I still to this day is in the, I would say within my top 5 quote, but my top 1 for the day. Yeah. All right. What about you?
I love it. So I actually have another one. I'm going to say my top one in a second, but when I did the Olympic things with the girls, I brought a little photo booth, like there was punch stations, and so they could do photos at the end and whatever. And so when I was making the template, I wanted to put like an inspirational quote. Mm-hmm. So when they got their picture printed, like they would then see this quote. And the one that I chose is, don't practice till you get it right. Practice till you can't get it wrong.
Oh.
And I love that, because and to me, that's just like, so, because that's what happens in life. You're like, oh man, I got it. And then what happens is you lose it, or you get complacent or whatever. And so this mentality of like, oh, I've arrived. We never arrive.
We never arrive.
You know, so the sooner we can like get that mentality out of our mindset of this, you know, mythical arrival. Yeah.
Agreed.
The stronger we're going to become, because we're always, you know, what's the Glenn Ross, like, always be closing, you know, like always be learning.
Always be learning.
Yes, always be learning.
I use that always be. I say it like ABT, always be training. ABS, always be stretching. ABL, always be learning.
Yes.
Yeah. All, I mean, it's, and that honestly is mastery. And I like this thing is like, you know, we don't pay our dues once a year. We pay our dues every day. Yeah. Right. And that those dues are learning. And then this is what I love. When you do that, then you actually get to earn the right to do what you do. Like, I don't think, if I don't ever try to improve myself, how can I encourage you or anybody else I've ever worked with to be better? That would be hypocritical, right? That would be contradicting. So I believe I owe it to the people that I have the opportunity to work with and serve, whether it be through Empowered Mastery, through our podcast audience, through my martial arts organization. I have to earn the right. right? And earn the right is about trying to be better every day, keeping the
Yep.
rules, number one,
Yep.
when we don't have the rules, and that's the discipline. So,
Yep.
all right, what is the other quote?
Okay, so my favorite quote is from Audrey Hepburn. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. I love that. I literally have a Audrey Hepburn bathroom, I call it. So one of the guest bathroom, it's black and white. So I have like this big canvas of Audrey Hepburn. And then I have that quote on the wall in that bathroom. But I love nothing it's only impossible if we tell ourselves that.
That's whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Whether you think it's impossible or think it's possible, you're right.
Exactly. And case in point with, the girls at Girl Scout, like if you're planting the I can't, the I can't is what's going to happen, So Leprechaun said, no, not today.
Right. So here's the takeaway. We must listen to Leprechaun rule number 1.
Yeah.
Leprechaun rule number 2.
That's technically Leprechaun rule number 2. Leprechaun rule number 1 was to listen.
To listen. Okay. Yeah. That's big too. That's right. So that, and it's interesting when you say the difference between I can't and I can try is apostrophe, right? Eliminating the apostrophe. And then the impossible to I'm possible is eliminating
the apostrophe.
Right. I don't know. I guess
I think I planned that, but I literally didn't.
I know. But I'm thinking like, all right, is there something we should know about these apostrophes? Is there something at a deeper level that we haven't explored yet?
I don't like them. No.
Apparently not. But
they mess me up. No, I'm just kidding. It's very, very interesting observation.
Yeah. Well, that's where the mind goes. Who knows? But I love these conversations. I love these dialogues. I think that, and it's really just directly lined up with the nature of our intention with this podcast is that, the slight shift of perspective can have profound difference in the future,
A slight removal of an apostrophe.
That's right. A slight removal of an apostrophe could look at the whole thing. The whole thing
totally differently.
Different.
When you can try and nothing's impossible.
Oh my gosh.
Then you can keep the rule even when there is no rule.
So then here is the challenge that I would say, and then we will leave on this note, but we always have your last final thought. So you always get the last one. But my challenge would be is to add a rule to your own checklist, right? What does that mean? Like, in other words, and I've been doing this a lot with a number of clients who have been struggling in this area. I said, okay, just what's my favorite words? What do we talk about a lot? Yeah, but, right?
Yeah, but.
I said, every time you're looking outside and you're thinking about something negative or not going, just follow up with the yeah, but, and counter it right away. And that little action, that little rule just gives you the ability to change that perspective on the spot. And then it doesn't spiral and become this new negative behavior. So I think that is what I would challenge everybody to do. Interesting. Grandmaster Kim, I had a call with him the other day, and he's telling me I should do this certain training. A lot of it is about my breathing. And he said, you know what you need to do? Yes, sir. He goes, take a sticky and put it in your car. Take a sticky and put it into this. Take a sticky and it should say, breathe. I'm like, yes, sir. You got it. You have stickies all over. But and he goes, just do it so it reminds you. And I do. And it's like, okay, I forgot. So put yeah, but all over your world. So, all right. Your final comment note.
My final shift.
Final shift.
Yes, we're all going to be shocked, but add an RY onto can't.
Love it.
Drop the apostrophe. I can try.
Right.
I can try.
And adding to that, take the apostrophe out of what? No.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
No, you're adding. Oh, no, this is what's happening. We're taking the apostrophe out of the can't and adding it into the impossible to make it I'm possible.
That's right. All right. Now I got it.
Yeah. So we're shifting it from the can't over to impossible to make it I'm possible. Isn't that interesting? You're taking an apostrophe from a negative, adding it into a negative word and making it positive.
My mind is fried right now.
Just like, wait, what?
I know. I thought I had it right, but I had it way wrong before.
You had it way wrong.
But that's amazing. That's it. That's it. I love it. I love the shift. I love our conversation. So please, if you gained any benefit from our conversation today, please like it, share it, spread the word. There's going to be more conversations like this. All we want to do is to have you all look at things maybe in a little bit different perspective, to see things in a little bit unique way that you might not have done, to make that slight shift, to have a dramatic difference, improvement. And again, not in just your life. You're like the nucleus of the cell, right? Because when you are doing better, then your family does better. When your family's doing better, then the people around them are doing better. And, yes, it sounds whatever, like altruistic, whatever that word is. But, we really do have the ability to make a better, more peaceful and happier world. Yeah. And if we can do that, then more people do it.
I hope we're all shifting an apostrophe or two.
Shifting the apostrophe. That's it. Just shift the apostrophe. From can't to impossible, then I'm possible.
I'm possible. Can try.
Yeah. Wasn't that great show? Like that little girl show? Kim Possible?
Oh, Kim Possible. Yes.
Kim Possible. My daughter her name is Kimberly. Yep, she used to love that. We used to call her Kim Possible. So, all right.
Kim Possible. Great. Love it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Coach Angela. We will see everybody on our next episode, but do us a favor and please send us to all of your friends, especially somebody who may have needed this conversation today.